Hello everybody, welcome back to the Blind Press YouTube and Twitch channels. As you can hear, my voice is still a bit creaky and croaky, but we will try to get through this as best we can because I have a double dose of Can Poly for us today, and no, we're not going to watch both full question periods. I'm gonna basically do the beginning part of question period yesterday, or from yesterday, not from yesterday, from Monday, excuse me, and then we will watch all of yesterday's question period in its entirety. But before that, we have some other videos that are not Can Poly related to watch too. But as I said, I'm sorry that I have been gone for these past few days. This cold has been awful. Like, I still have tightness and stuff in my chest, but I couldn't justify not streaming today, especially since my boys are back to school. So, I am here. And hopefully my voice will hang in there. Hello, Blake Star. Hello, Ghost Dog. I hope you guys are all doing well. Let's pop Twitch chat open as well. Okay. So we're good with that. Hopefully I'll see everything with mod view open. Okay. So. There we go. I have everything pulled up now. Hooray! Okay. So, what we're going to do here, like I said, I've got two videos that are not politics. Well, literally everything is politics now. I've got two videos that aren't directly watching politicians do political shit. How's that? How's that? I've got two of those videos, and then we'll get into question period. But apparently, our first video, we're gonna watch Asmongold react to a TikTok influencer reacting to some tweet that Asmongold put out that apparently very greatly upset him. Not Asmongold, this TikToker. So let's see what he said that just was beyond the pale, shall we?
TikTok influencer responds to Asmongold. Oh, TikTok influencer responds to Asmongold. Okay, good. Here we go.
Popular Twitch streamer Asmongold tweeted out, "You're not protesting for Palestine by preventing some minimum wage worker from getting to work on time. Get out of the road."
Yes.
He's okay. What's wrong with that? It's true. You're not over in Gaza actively protesting. You're in your comfortable country. You've just gotten out of your comfortable bed, and you've had your Starbucks for the day, and now you're protesting something you don't understand.
Yes,
I might be making a mistake, but I'm going to engage with this in good faith. There are two significant layers to this issue. The first is the one that I'm sure Asmongold has already had yelled at him plenty of times, which is that protests are supposed to be disruptive. That's their entire point. Asmongold being
yeah, they can be disruptive, but they can't break the law, because
True.
if you use the argumentation at anything so if the rationale is that anything that you do in a protest in the process of being disruptive is okay, well then why can't we just burn down your house?
Well, and that's the thing. That's why everybody was getting upset about the police stepping in with the Trans Mountain Pipeline protests because they were breaking the law. They were disrupting shipping. And in a very massive way. So the police had to step in and be like, okay, disband, please. You guys are no longer peacefully protesting.
Why not? It's disruptive. Why not? There's no logic or reason to it. And nobody actually believes this. And this is the problem, is that you're standing on a platitude that can't be applied to any other situation other than the situations that you explicitly are okay with in these tiny little narrow lines of thinking.
That's so true, because a lot of people stand on platitudes like this, but if you were to apply it to them in the other, like, in their life or in their situations, they would completely lose their mind.
And this is what I was saying before, right? About how a lot of people's reasoning and rationales for things are completely self-referential. There's no actual principle to this.
No.
This is a conclusion that was then worked backwards to create a justification for it. Logic and reasoning that cannot be applied to any other situation other than itself is almost always bad logic and bad reasoning.
I was gonna say, that is the lack of logic and reasoning. It is, logic and reasoning can really only be logic and reasoning if it can be applied to, like, a general concept of, like, or you can take the logic and reasoning from general concepts and apply it in a microcosm of things. This is the complete opposite of that. You cannot apply this logic to anything. Well, that's what... come on, BP. That's what makes it bad logic. Shut up.
And this is...
Continue, Asmongold.
Create a justification for it. Logic and reasoning that cannot be applied to any other situation other than itself is almost always bad logic and bad reasoning. And this is, I think, a great example of that.
Asmongold, being a good old Texan boy, I'm sure would agree that if somebody read about the Boston Tea Party and went, "Oh my, I don't see how throwing tea in the harbor and damaging the product of a private company is going to help the colonials fight
What kind of stupid British accent is this?
against the crown," he would think they're kind of silly. But the second layer of this is...
Okay. So, the Boston Tea Party. Number one, you're not a revolutionary fighter. You're standing in the road.
Yeah.
Like, let's just dial this down. Number two, they had no representation. The truth is that here in America, you do have representation.
Yes. I love how today, in 2024, we are still reaching back to 1770 whatever for examples of protest. Like, have there not been successful protests since the Boston Tea Party that are on a much closer scale to what's going on here than, like, hello?
You can vote. You couldn't vote King George out of England.
No.
And I understand that some people might not like the fact that our government works the way that it does. However, you do have the option to vote for candidates that will push issues that you like. Mm-hmm. You cannot compare the way to protest in a monarchy to the way to protest in a democratic republic.
You also cannot compare the way to protest in a monarchy 300 years ago to the way you can protest in a democracy in 2024. That is not a fair comparison. Like, because even protests within monarchies today look different than they would look in 1776 or 5 or whatever the Boston Tea Party was. But yeah, like, this is not a fair comparison.
These are two completely different things. The reason why the Boston Tea Party happened is because you couldn't vote against it.
Right.
There was no option to vote. We have the option to vote. We have the option to change politics as a reflection of the community, of society. Imagine if every single time that a person lost a vote, they rioted.
Oh my
They
God.
decided to burn everything down.
That would be insane.
Nothing would work.
Nothing would get done.
Let's keep going.
This is what the protesters are actually protesting, which is our tax dollars going to fund the side comma Jenny of the Palestinian people.
I think it depends, right? So like you have
comma Jenny of the which is our tax dollars going to fund the side comma Jenny of the Palestinian people.
I think it depends, right? So like you have a lot of the protesters who are very active in like colleges, and that's because the colleges, they want the colleges to divest from things that are beneficial to Israel. But we could be talking about like two different types of protests. So yeah, but this is also another factor. He's right about this.
But there are other protests happening that, like at Columbia, I didn't know about this until Pincalo told me about it. Where there were students telling not Israeli, but Jewish students that they couldn't go to school there because of the stuff going on in Gaza. We have students in McGill University in Montreal, one of the most heavily Jewish populated cities in Canada, by the way, protesting the shit in Gaza. You are in your nation with free speech. Try it protesting in a country that doesn't have it. You can protest, but you cannot break the law. Yeah.
For any disruption to the economy at large does in fact help support the Palestinian people.
Then go burn down a Walmart.
Yeah.
Then go on a shooting rampage. Then burn down people's houses. If the argumentation is that any disruption to the economy is good because it supports the Palestinian people, well, then just go blow up a building.
Yeah.
You see, and this is the thing, is that if you use this logic in any other situation, it immediately sounds like you are an insane person, needs to be investigated by the FBI.
Yes.
You immediately sound like a terrorist. I'm
Yes,
sorry.
Absolutely.
But
because that's the kind of thinking that terrorists use. That is precisely the type of thinking that terrorists use.
This is
Oh my
another
God,
great
my hair is
example
so
of people
puffy.
using self-referential argumentation. They are deciding what they believe is right, and then they are justifying it. I don't think these protesters will advocate that behavior.
Bullshit. They already are.
What about other protesters that do?
And they already are.
What about other ones that have a different viewpoint on it? So people are bad for taking the least disruptive method of protesting? But it's not the least disruptive method.
Oh my goodness, excuse me for yelling
Whataboutism's
like
not?
that.
No, it's not. How is this a whataboutism?
That's wow.
The outliers
this
don't
chat
make the
is
majority,
stupid.
though. How many people do you need for it to be a huge problem? You don't need a majority of people to have people that think that destroying anything that they possibly can is going to damage the economy and therefore support Palestine. How many of those people do you need for it to be a huge problem? And
I'm sorry. Did we all forget about the riots that were happening in Missouri over the Michael Brown killing? Or all of the riots in 2020 that were just, quote, peaceful protests?
And this is the point that I'm making with like people that use this type of thinking, is that if you apply this thinking to another situation, it doesn't work.
No.
It only works in this narrow thing under their value system. The ends justify the means to these people. Yeah, but they don't, though, because if somebody did something worse, they would be acting like it was bad. Because there's no clear...
Wow, the mental sleight of hand that bearded guy is using to justify people being an asshole. Yep.
An acceptable line. Because once you allow people to create their own subjective
Absolutely.
judgments of what is and is not acceptable, you invite chaos into everything. The reason why we have, and there is a line, it's called the law. You have to follow the law. That's what's been agreed on collectively by society. So whenever you decide my problem is so important that I have the moral mandate to ignore the law, and then you destroy property and you break the law, you can't go and get mad at somebody else for doing the same thing and say, oh, well, that's too far. Well, what if other people, what happened whenever the people said that what you were doing was too far?
But but it only works for the one side, though. That's the thing. That's what these people don't care about.
People have
it only works when it's them.
no sense of rationality here.
Asmongold used to work for the IRS, so
I
I'm
do.
sure he is fully aware that taxes are generated by any transaction. When you're buying a coffee that was produced by a minimum wage worker, you're paying a tax.
Well, why not kill the worker and burn down the coffee shop?
Ha!
Why not do that? No argumentation. It's against the law. Oh! Wait. It's against the law? That's crazy. Husband doesn't understand the politics of the topic. Okay. Explain it. Explain how this argumentation doesn't work.
Explain why, because the politics of the topic is different, or somehow different, even though it's really not, how this doesn't change anything. Good luck, by the way, because you're not going to be able to.
Go ahead. Also, like, some random person who's protesting doesn't have the, yes, the street is getting stupid, boycotting and divesting an apartheid genocidal government is not. Okay, yes, getting in the street is stupid. Okay, so I don't...
Rules for thee, not for me. Well, 3 plus more people acting in unison. So 3 to 5 people for riotous assembly. Yeah. I am going to need alcohol to prevent me from headbutting the table. That's how I feel most times when I'm watching Question Period, Fury Kitten.
I don't understand. Like, that's literally what I said. Anyway, this is taking too long. I'm going to go ahead and just time this guy out. We're going to move on, okay?
When that worker gets paid, the company pays a tax. When somebody has to buy gas to drive to work...
Well, why don't you just rob people then? Why don't you rob people and then set all the money on fire? Because, like, if money is the issue, right, or burn down a bank. Because this is the logical conclusion of this thinking. And I want to say that this is not a straw man.
No, it's not.
This is an application of their logic.
This is directly their logic applied to, like, this is not, what is it that my mom likes to say? That stupid line from the Big Bang Theory, the Proctor ad hoc, whatever, the stupid Latin bullshit. She likes to throw that at people. But no, it is a direct conclusion to this logic. If you can protest, and because you're protesting a thing, you can be as disruptive and law disobedient as you want because you're protesting, then why not just, carry it out to the natural conclusion? Go. Don't pay for gas, rob somebody, and don't, like, you know what I, like what Asmongold said.
Applied in a more extreme way, then they are applying it themselves.
Yep.
And if you look at history, and especially if you look at the history of terrorism, you will see that there are a lot of people that don't think it's as crazy as a lot of you guys do. And they did it.
Yeah, it's funny how terrorists seem to think the way that these people that are like, it's just a protest, bro, think. You know, the same people that, you know, caused all the disruption in 2020 with all those riots and everything. It's almost like the fact that terrorists and these people think quite similarly.
They did it.
It's very interesting.
The Unabomber. Think about that.
They are paying a tax. If it's still not clear, allow me to put it in World of Warcraft terms. Imagine if you had two raiding guilds, one horde, one alliance, both competing for the server-first mythic raid clear. Now, it gets discovered that if every single ranged DPS uses a very specific potion, it will increase their damage output against a specific boss by 5% for each character, cutting 10 minutes off of their raid time.
That's good.
And one of the critical ingredients for this potion is the herb bruiseweed. Now imagine that the Alliance Guild has all of their non-core raiding members go throughout
This is complicated. Now I've got to fucking think this out. Okay, all right.
Map and not only harvest all of the bruiseweed they can find, but also actively start griefing.
Way too fucking complicated an analogy for this fucking you dude. The fact that you think that Asmongold is too stupid to understand this, so you're gonna try to like nerd it down for him. This is pathetic.
It's complicated. Now I've got to fucking think this out. Okay, all right.
Map and not only harvest all of the bruiseweed they can find, but also actively start griefing any horde players who are also trying to harvest bruiseweed.
I'm sure there's a fucking wasp in my house. How the fuck did a wasp get in my house? God damn it. Fuck. Sorry, I apologize. I just, again, I actually really don't like wasps. Let's get back to it.
Who does?
Members go throughout the map and not only harvest all of the bruiseweed they can find, but also actively start griefing any horde players who are also trying to harvest bruiseweed. I'm sure in this hypothetical situation, if Asmongold then went on the World of Warcraft forums and saw all of the Horde players demanding that the Alliance players be punished because they are disrupting their supply lines for this potion that ultimately gives them...
Oh, I see. That Alliance is Israel. Okay. My paying income tax and national insurance payments are less complicated than this analogy, right? Oh, wow reference. And this is like super overcomplicated. Like, dude, no.
A leg up in the race to server first for the mythic raid completion, Asmon would tell the Horde players to stop bitching. Because that's the game, baby. They're just disrupting the supply lines of the Horde.
Well, it depends on how they're doing it. So this is actually a terrible analogy in like 3 different ways. So the first way it's a terrible analogy is that griefing is against the terms of service. And if you're doing it in a way that breaks the rules of the game, then you absolutely can get banned. It's not even a question.
Yeah, exactly. If most games will say no fucking griefing, right? Like, hello.
Number 2, I would not be happy about the Alliance players doing it. I would be angry at the developer for allowing it to happen. That's number 2.
So yeah, there you go. Again, another bad, like, holy shit. This guy doesn't know what an example is to be simple for anyone to follow. No, he really doesn't.
And number 3, the Horde players don't have their livelihoods relying on getting a mythic server first kill.
No.
Like, if they don't kill whatever the new raid boss is, Ragnaros, first on the server, they don't... their family doesn't starve.
Yeah, their rent still gets paid. They still get to go out to the grocery store, right? They you know, like, their internet bill for them to actually partake in this dumbass fucking analogy, their internet bill still works, you know, like,
Like
Holy
these are
shit.
like they're not like if they kill that boss, it's not like they get to go to the hospital and finally have like, you know, their broken leg looked at.
Oh yeah, I know. Oh my god, Doc, you can finally give me that heart valve replacement. Why did you? Oh my god, you beat the raid boss! Hooray! Get him up to the OR.
So the severity is totally different.
Christ.
And also, even inside that argumentation, griefing has never been okay. And there have actually been a lot of instances of people that were griefing that got punished for it, even whenever they were doing it in a competitive way. So like this line of logic is wrong whenever it's applied to real life, and it's also wrong even inside of the context of the game.
Yep.
This is crazy.
To make it easier for the side that they support to get a leg up.
Yeah, and again, also another factor here is that
I love how he thinks that Israel is the big bad alliance and that Palestine is just the poor Horde players. Like, what the fuck?
So you're saying that the Horde players are the minimum wage workers that are trying to get to their work? I mean, no, that's not the way it works at all. I wonder what people think about this tweet or this post here. Bastard wants Asmon to give him views. Oh, it's fine. That's fine. I'm getting views out of it too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not mad. Like, this person wasn't rude to me. I disagree with him. I think that he's wrong. But no, there's nothing. He didn't say anything wrong. This is fine. Asmon Cockroaches. No, Asmongold is probably pro-Israeli. Why would I be pro-Israeli? Asmon is right. Worked at the IRS. Also, the analogy was quality. Is anybody calling this at all?
Oh, he's looking at the comments.
This is sad, guys.
Nobody's calling.
The analogy was kind of condescending. Oh, that's no problem to me. It just doesn't work, though. Yeah, it's just not a good analogy if you... It's not a good analogy if you think about it. It's really not.
That
was like
the
exactly.
worst analogy ever. Imagine you're in WoW, okay, but we're not, and this is a protest that affects like real live workers. Like, holy shit. Logic does not apply to that guy. No, not at all. Not at all. That was pretty terrible. That was horrible. I just, wow. What a horrible leap in bad logic that guy made. Like, none of those examples worked. And that's the thing I love about these people who defend these protests. They always try to give examples that are either hundreds of years out of date, or they're like, I know, I'll talk to this person on their level. They like video games, right? I'll make this a video game and it just never works. It never works. Because they never talk normally. They never just talk like a normal person. They have to pretend to be smart. I have a few people in my life like that. There we go. Namely, one person in my life, but she is, yeah. Anyway, let's see about the Stellar Blade censorship disaster. I saw people actually saying that you should cancel your PlayStation Plus membership over this shit, and I'm like, dude, canceling your PlayStation Plus membership over Stellar Blade is like people canceling Netflix over Cuties. It's not going to do anything, and they're just going to be back in a few months anyway to resubscribe quietly when nobody's looking. So, just save everybody a hassle and just don't unsubscribe.
Hey, what's up, guys? Rep here. So today we have a lot to discuss, all surrounding the topic of Stellar Blade, which officially released today. Now, ever since the hype behind this game was building, there was always an ongoing concern that there would be censorship in the official release of this game. And one of the big marketing points that has been pushed by this company is that Stellar Blade was going to offer the same uncensored version in all countries. This is something that people were very excited about, and it made journalists very mad who claimed that this uncensored release was going to be something diabolical and bad.
Yeah, so the uncensored version, it was going to be like, I don't know, Marilyn Manson and Eminem and Doom and all the horrible things from the 90s just molded in together into one big package on crack and turn everybody that played it into some, like, murderous killer.
However, we would see immediate censorship take place right as this game was making its official release. We saw journalists complaining about this right here, the combination of the hard graffiti next to the R Shop logo, and they claimed that this was offensive, a hard R reference, and of course, to the displeasure of many, this would be patched out. This would be censored by Stellar Blade as soon as it was discovered by these journalists. And say what you want, but that is an act of censorship. Now, moving forward, a lot of people were looking forward to the release, the official release today, to see if there's more changes. In particular, if there's going to be changes involving the outfits that the main protagonist, Eve, is wearing. Well, we have an article here by Niche Gamer that is definitely a very good guide as we go through this video, and also I'm going to add some things on that they have not gotten to yet. But they say this: Stellar Blade developer Shift Up acknowledges the outfit censorship. More players provide video evidence of these changes. So let's get into the article. It says, yesterday fans came forward surprised to see different versions of the Holiday Rabbit costume in Stellar Blade.
Of course. Can't make her a hot bunny rabbit. That's offensive. She can't be a sexy bunny rabbit.
As a result, accusations and misinformation overtook the discourse. The first signs of censorship in Stellar Blade appeared online when users who received physical editions of the game noticed that the Holiday Rabbit outfit was different after the game was patched. This was later thought to be a possible hoax after footage before the Day 1 patch showed the censored outfit. So there is a ton of misinformation surrounding the subject, and a lot of people are very confused. Even people with good intentions are confused as to what's going on specifically with this Holiday Rabbit costume. Now, first thing that people saw was screenshots like this that were going around on Twitter showing a claim that this was the uncensored pre-patch version of this outfit. You can see there's more cleavage here. And then on the patched version, you can see they added the little black shirt behind the initial outfit that obviously hides some of the cleavage. It is a censored version of this outfit. Now,
yeah, because, you know, boobs are bad. This is something I keep running into all the time. Anytime I post something with my boobs in it, somebody somewhere gets offended. Boobs are bad, apparently.
Some people are claiming that this is a hoax or fake or edited or something like that because other people who have reviewer copies of this game said that this has been the case all along. This shirt underneath the initial outfit has always been a part of it. This user saying on the left is the bunny suit recorded on 4/14 on my Let's Play. On the right is the bunny suit recorded today on Day 1 patch.
I hope the developers release a bigger jiggle physics patch. And porn star based DLC package. Oh, sorry. Porn star character options with a winking and tripping DLC premium pack.
So people were claiming that those other examples must be misinformation, and we see some other footage with this censored version dating back to April 24th, which is obviously before the official release. Now, what is going on? Well, it seems that Niche Gamer has the same thought process that I do about this, and here's their claim. What appears to be the case is that reviewers who received a digital copy of the game were actually playing a 1.01 patch as opposed to the game as it was shipped. This transitional patch between the original game and the day one 1.02 patch appears to have been what censored the outfits. The information about the uncensored outfits came from individuals who received their physical editions early and played the game unpatched, which at the time meant that it was difficult to verify. In the hour since Stellar Blade became available, more users have begun speaking up about the censorship and have been uploading videos of the uncensored outfits. So we're going to look at the examples in a second, but basically, in a nutshell, the version that people are claiming was the original one from days ago is actually a patched version. This reviewer copy that they're playing has already been patched with these censored outfits.
So they patched it for the reviewers just so they wouldn't bitch. Jesus Christ. That's
the
crazy.
Physical release that came out today is the original unpatched version containing these uncensored outfits. Yes, it looks like there is censorship and there's videos showing proof of that. You can see users like this releasing their perspective with the physical copy. You can see right here, this is the original unpatched version of this outfit without the shirt underneath. If you go here, you can see they'll go into their interface and they will show everything going on. This right here is the outfit that was before the patch. The reviewer copy that people are using as proof that this never existed, they're playing a patched version of this game. The physical copy just hasn't been patched yet, and people who are getting the physical copy and then adding and installing this new patch are seeing this outfit get censored.
That's crazy. So they can literally prove these people like wrong and say, look, there is censorship, see?
Moderator, do you know how porn games are on Steam? Loads. Do you know how many of them are free? Loads. Do you know how many I have installed? None. And I am quite the fan of boobies and smush cookies.
Do you know how many porn games there are on Steam? Loads. Do you know how many are free? Loads. Do you know how many I have installed? None. And I am quite the fan of boobies and smush cookies.
This outfit has been censored. I think it's very clear that is the case right now. And of course, we have further evidence here coming from the related subreddit where we have the director of Stellar Blade acknowledge that people are upset about some censorship and changes that have taken place with the physical release versus other digital updates and patches. And this is something that makes it pretty clear what he's talking about.
할 수 있는 방법을 생각하고 계신지 아니면 이런 이슈를 혹시 지금 알고 계신지는 한번 좀 물어보고 싶었습니다.
예, 당연하게도 이 이슈에 대해서 인지를 하고 있습니다. 다만 이제 저희가 최종적으로 여러분들께 보여드리고자 하는 것은 1.0002 버전의 의상이 맞습니다. 그래서 그게 최종 프로덕트라는 것을 확실히 말씀드리고 싶고요. 다만 이제 이것이 어쨌든 유저 여러분들을 완전히 납득시켜드릴 수 있는 답변은 아니기 때문에 지금 현재 그것에 대해서 내부에서 논의 중입니다. 그래서 조만간 한번 그 부분에 대해서 말씀드릴 수 있는 기회가 있을 거라고 생각합니다.
So based on the additional context provided by the director here, I think it's very obvious what happened. This was an outfit that was censored and altered in some sort of a way between the original physical copy and the patch version of this game. And that is something that people are upset about. And he is trying to convince people that, yes, it looks like censorship, but it's actually perhaps the final version we always want to go with, which I think is trying to cover their own tracks.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I don't think anybody, I really don't think anybody believes that that's not censorship. This is him trying to cover his ass. Remember, kids, the internet isn't just for widely available porn and kittens. Do I get assistant for the on-screen subtitles? No. Nope. No feedback for on-screen subtitles unless, in like described video tracks, if it's already been written in, then I'll get it. But no.
Because this is something you would expect out of a company that is dealing with Sony. Sony is very pro-censorship, and I'm not surprised that Stellar Blade would have difficulty trying to preserve some of these outfits. Now, moving forward, I want to address one more thing. A lot of people are spreading this screenshot. I believe this post has been taken down, but people are using this as another example of censorship, and it was causing more confusion. And it's titled here, Alternative Holiday Rabbit in NG+. You can see it is that same rabbit costume. It's just a different color, but it does have that little patch of clothing to hide some of the cleavage. Now, I think this is the result of something separate. I think, and this is just my personal opinion, I believe this is an alternative version of this rabbit costume that they are adding into this edition of the game. You can see in their initial post here, Stellar Blade New Game Plus mode, available on launch April 26th. And if you go down here, you'll see that there's an expanded wardrobe in this release, a whopping 34 new outfits for Eve to earn in New Game Plus. Now, is that 34 total or 34 in addition?
New Game Plus, of course. Of course there's a New Game Plus. Because there's got to be tiers to everything, right?
With New Game Plus, not quite sure yet. But what I believe, based on what I've seen, that previous screenshot is this updated patched version, and it is an alternative version of that existing costume. Now, moving forward, there would be more censorship. So here we have Niche Gamer saying, there have been also other changes, such as reducing the level of gore in the game and how it sticks to Eve's body. Both of these changes came despite assurances from Shift Up that the game would be uncensored for all regions. And you can
come on. You can't do that. That's like censoring an Evil Dead game and making the blood not stick to. Oh, come on. Really? I don't like what they've done with the new model. I'm not a fan of the green. And
you can see posts like this showing the proof that on the left, you have the pre-patched version where she is covered in blood whenever blood heads in her direction. And this is the patched version where the blood has been toned down and no longer sticks to her body when it lands there. Again,
of course, because blood is just like water and it just rolls away.
This is censorship. Pure and simple. I mean, it's not like the most egregious, horrifying act of censorship, but it is censorship. And people normally would be very upset. And just because you like this game or Shift Up doesn't mean you should overlook this. So basically, what are we taking away from this? Well, we know a couple things. We know that there have been acts of censorship already committed by Stellar Blade. Whether it's the result of Sony pushing them or not, it doesn't change the fact that it is in fact happening. Now, a lot of people have had emotional responses to this, and I definitely caution against it.
Very emotional, like cancel your PlayStation Plus membership. Like, come on. Just stop.
Some people are just immediately throwing their hands up in the air and saying this game is compromised and it's beyond saving. And some people are overlooking everything that's happening and saying, oh, well, whatever. I'm just going to play the game anyways. I don't really care if there's this censorship. It's not a big deal. And I think there's a lot to unpack here. A lot of these things can be true at the same time. Sony can be putting pressure on Shift Up to censor this game, while also Shift Up actively censoring the game. And you can also want to play this game and see these changes fixed. Now, where are we? Again, Sony. We're dealing with Sony. Okay, Sony is one of the biggest offenders of random acts of censorship you will ever see.
True.
This is something that was already kind of acknowledged by the director of Shift Up and Yoko Taro, who is the creator of course, Nier Automata. So in an interview, they're going back and forth. They wanted to ask if there was any fights with Sony Interactive Entertainment since they are publishing Stellar Blade, where the director would say, he would glance around the staff members in the room and laughed, the people at SIE are very, very nice. And then Yoko would say SIE's staff members are pulling faces I've never seen before. I wish the readers of this article could see it. There's definitely some sort of attention and an acknowledgement between these creators that yes, there is some sort of a censorship issue when you're dealing with Sony.
Yeah, well, because Sony is as Oh no, splatter decals. Let's hope Mortal Kombat doesn't think about this back in 1992.
Given the advances in image analysis and AI generation, I hope shortly there is an audio descriptive option for all images and video.
Given the advances in image analysis and AI generation, I hope that there is soon an option. Audio descriptive option for all videos and images. That would be cool. I think that would be awesome.
And that's not something that's surprising. We've seen how brutal they've been with their censorship, especially of Japanese products, where they have routinely...
Why do they hate censoring Japanese products so much? Is it just because Sony itself is a Japanese company?
Try to tone down anything they can in these games. In fact, the reason a lot of people are angry about this is because there seems to be a weird bias when it comes to certain games versus others. They're trying to censor and basically button up the designs of Eve and Stellar Blade, while they're also simultaneously selling games like Baldur's Gate 3 that has full-on nudity and an option for players to have sex with bears. Like, it's ridiculous that a little bit of cleavage in Stellar Blade is too much for that M for Mature game, but this M for Mature game can go way beyond that and not get touched. And of course, that hypocrisy has been reflected in the actions of journalists. We've been seeing this for a long time. People shaming and attacking these outfits of Eve from Stellar Blade, while these same authors are going forward and celebrating ways to find nude exploits in games like Baldur's Gate 3. And the hypocrisy can be seen in some of the reactions.
Because it's got degenerate sex in it. That's why. But they would rather have you focus. That's true. They would rather focus on making new AI porn rather than anything useful. True. Because Japan don't give two shits about their peculiar brand of politics. It's because most stuff coming out of Japan is massive titties.
Of content creators. You see this right here saying, it's wild to me that despite good reviews, despite the game being genuinely fun to play, gooners can't just take the W and are having a meltdown over a small piece of black lace. Now, I think it's pretty disingenuous to dismiss all of this as the cries of gooners. This is a situation where players and customers are being lied to. This isn't about just a simple little piece of black lace. This is much bigger. So I don't.
And to boil it down to, oh, you just want to see titties, or oh, it's just a piece of black lace. No, like they were told that it was going to be the same uncensored game no matter where in the world you bought it, and that's clearly not what it is. So they were lied to.
I don't understand why people will take this as a moral victory while accepting the fact that they bought a product from a company that lied to them. They lied about this promise of having uncensored versions released in all countries, and that is the main issue with Stellar Blade and Shift Up.
Yeah,
you can
they
acknowledge everything going on with Sony and the unfair treatment that Stellar Blade and Shift Up have received from many different sources, while also saying this is unacceptable. They shouldn't have made this promise if they couldn't deliver it. And I like Shift Up. I like Stellar Blade. But at the same rate, I'm not going to give them a pass just because I like them. True. This is acts of censorship. If this was happening to other games, people would be up in arms. So it's very odd to see some people just overlook these things because they want to support Stellar Blade. So on Sony's blog announcing the release of the NG+, there is one comment that I think really sums up how I feel and a lot of other people feel about what Shift Up and Sony is doing with this censorship. So this user says, I really don't appreciate that it is now effectively false advertising and a lie that they explicitly advertise the game as an uncensored worldwide release, and yet we're getting conservative modesty edits to outfits that Sony let prominently featured in the trailers and promo material.
Yes, that is one thing. If they were okay for a trailer and promo, then they should be okay for in-game content. Like, if these journos are so upset with the outfits and stuff. Have the fucking more conservative outfits available if they want to put them on, but don't make it default.
And who knows where that will end. And yet Sony has no problem with bare effing, complete nudity, sex, and realistic and traumatic, disgusting violence in games like Cyberpunk, TLU, and Baldur's Gate 3. This is clown world nonsense, and you just lost a customer unless Sony reverses its lies and stops censoring the game pre and post launch. And apologies for lying. Heck, you can even call it a mistake.
Yep.
I don't even care about the bunny suit I probably wouldn't wear. It is the principle of the matter and the blatant double standard and the lack of trust. And
that's the way to, that's perfectly stated. I think that's absolutely perfectly stated. They were told, the customers were told one thing, and it is demonstratively been proven that they got another thing. And I think they have a right to be upset about that. They have a right to voice that displeasure, and they have a right to want it fixed.
And that is my perspective on this situation. There is a lack of trust. When you advertise your game as something that won't be censored and then it's immediately censored, that is a problem. And you should be able to speak up and hold everyone in this scenario accountable. Now, what do? Well, I've seen a lot of different responses to this situation. People seeing the censorship, and they immediately pull all of their support of Stellar Blade and Shift Up. And I've seen other people, in their attempt to support Stellar Blade, completely overlook these censorship changes that they normally would be very critical of if it was a different franchise or game. Now,
yeah, you can't do that either. Like, when NetherRealm fucks up, right? Like, I love Mortal Kombat 1. I love how accessible it is, right? But when they fuck up, I'm like, hey, the fuck? Like, the couple months back when the game was desyncing, I wasn't like, oh, well. I'm like, no, why are you, fix your servers? What the fuck, dude? Like, you should be allowed to enjoy something and still call out the developers for things that need to be fixed.
Now, I think there's a little more nuance to all this, where you can hold all parties accountable without playing favorites. Absolutely. In a push to make this product and future products better without censorship. And that is something reflected by some claims made by Mark Kern, who's been a longtime member of this industry and someone who's been very vocal about the issues in the gaming industry. So he says this: I hate to be blunt, but if you cancel your pre-order, you hand the journalists and everyone making fun of Stellar Blade a huge win. Yep. They want it to fail. They want to write about how mad you are. Instead, we're going to have them write about how we changed it all the day Stellar Blade shipped. And that's reflected in posts like this. He's given many steps of what he thinks should happen, and here's step 7 saying, the petition I made to hashtag Free Stellar Blade is up. Now, I know a lot of people will look at petitions and laugh. Yeah. And yes, I don't think petitions alone will ever accomplish anything, but they are a useful tool and asset when you're trying to push for change. Because if you can get hundreds of thousands of signatures on a petition, that means something. That's showing what people want. We've seen
that is an absolute metric, and it can be used as a measure to show, hey, this is what people want. This is not, like, what you are doing is opposite of what people want.
These sorts of things be a valuable tool for pushing for what gamers want in the past. And that's something that he raises with Classic WoW. If you know everything surrounding Classic WoW, the original version of the game released basically 2 decades ago, and people wanted to return to the initial game. There was very active private servers with millions of players, but there was never an official classic version of the game re-released. And players kept pushing and pushing and pushing, including getting 200k signatures on related petitions. But and it was just constantly turned.
That's what Classic WoW is now fully accessible by Blizzard for blind people.
Turned down. Blizzard always said no matter what. They said it was never going to happen. In fact, we had this infamous quote from J. Allen Brack many years ago, where someone asked about whether there would ever be Classic Realms released, and that this is something players really wanted. And he replied with his infamous quote saying, "You think you do, but you don't." Basically saying, we know better than you, despite everything you're saying to us and what you want. It's not actually what you want. Well, that would age horribly, as Classic WoW would be released about 5 years ago, and on initial release, the servers were flooded. There was 10 plus hour queues just to get into the game. And there's been many iterations and paths stemming from that initial Classic re-release. And it's honestly one of the very few good decisions Blizzard has made in a very, very long time, was re-releasing Classic WoW and trying to extend upon Classic WoW. Now, going back to the post made by Mark Kern saying here, the Step 8 plan is to show them gamers win. Restore the original game to what was promised. That should be the push, to get Stellar Blade, Shift Up, and Sony to restore the version of the game that they promised. This uncensored version that they were advertising themselves as.
Yeah, don't cancel your membership. Don't cancel the pre-order. Don't stop playing the game. Push for the game to be like refixed to like put it back to the way it was supposed to be. That's what you should be pushing for. Not any of this nonsense. Because cancel culture is just, it doesn't work no matter which way you go.
That is what you should push for. I understand if some people are disappointed and they just don't want to support it anymore. I get it. But if you want to make actual change, you need to go out there and talk to customer support. Reach out to Sony the best way you can. Reach out to Stellar Blade. Reach out to Shift Up. And show that you are not accepting this censorship.
No.
Because this is going to happen over and over again unless people can show that gamers can have an impact on these things and make it very clear what they want and get the companies involved to provide that. Because they are offering a service and they're molding it and advertising it a certain way, and they're not delivering it the way they promised. That's not acceptable.
No,
you should be very vocal about this. And instead of trying to just wipe your hands clean of Stellar Blade entirely, try to get it fixed. Make that be the next headline, that these things are being restored. I think that is the most important thing to do next when it comes to Stellar Blade. And of course, there's going to be trials and tribulations, right? It's going to be hard in and of itself, but you're not going to get support from a lot of people on Twitter. You're going to get attacked, just like Mark Kern has. Immediately, just trying to restore what gamers paid for is being met with threats on people's lives.
And that's the thing. That's the thing, isn't it? Like, we need, and it's not just in this like sphere of like the gaming situation. We are not yet at the point where where all hope is lost. We are still at the point where we can push for change back to some sort of sanity. It's just, we have to not be cynical enough to think that it's too late. And that's the biggest problem I'm running into with things when I talk about politics. A lot of people have just given up on any politicians, and that's not what you need to be doing. You need to be looking for the ones that will help you. It's the same thing with the gaming situation. You can't just wash your hands of a game and expect the game industry to fix itself. You have to, if you want change in the gaming industry, you have to demand it. And you have to hold people to account, just like you would do with anything. So we can't just, stick our head in the sand and hope for change. We have to actually push for it. All right, I am going to quickly do a be right back and grab some cold medicine because my throat is starting to really hurt. And then we'll start with our question period. Where am I here? Okay, I will be muting and I shall return in a moment. Okay. We're back. Now, the way we're gonna do this, the way we're gonna do this is I'm going to play the first like 10, maybe 15 minutes of Monday's question period. And we're gonna just take a look like at what happened within the first like 10 minutes. And then we're gonna watch all of yesterday's question period. Because something happened yesterday. I saw a headline, and we're actually gonna watch what happens. Now, so I've got Mondays pulled up. So like I said, let's go through Mondays. We'll probably go up till Jagmeet Singh. And then, because we usually have Polyev, the leader of the Bloc Québécois, and then Jagmeet Singh go. That's usually the first three people that speak. So I will have, I'll let that play out from Monday, and then we'll watch all of yesterday. So, here we go.
Oral questions. Questions orales. L'honorable chef de l'opposition. Oral questions. Questions orales. L'honorable chef de l'opposition.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
I don't like...
There's been tragic data today, Mr. Speaker. 25% of Quebecers are living below the poverty line. That is below a good average life. And this is a direct result of the centralizing, bureaucratic, unnecessary spending of this Prime Minister. And his spending is 100% supported by the Bloc Québécois. Mr. Speaker, when will the Prime Minister and the Bloc Québécois stop impoverishing Quebecers?
Oh, shit.
The Honourable Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Finance.
Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker.
Oh, she even did her own version. Listen.
The Honourable Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Finance. Mr. Speaker. 2 weeks ago, we unveiled our budget. Our budget seeks to ensure fairness for all generations and for all Quebecers. Currently,
Halliburton.
a carpenter
Hello.
and
Oh God, I only have a half liter of vodka. I may need to nip out during this. I have no vodka or wine or anything. So if anybody wants to see me do exercises, run over to the Twitch and give me a sub, or hit up the Streamlabs and throw me $10 and I'll do 10 overhead presses and save up some money to grab some alcohol to do.
and a nurse pay taxes at a marginal tax rate that is higher than that paid by big business. That's not fair. Yet the Conservative leader opposes our plan.
I may
our
not
plan
be able
for
to control
fairness.
my
The
anger.
only thing these Conservatives want is austerity. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition. After 9 years, this Prime Minister is not worth the cost. He's not worth the cost for Quebecers. Quebecers are paying double for rent, for housing, and to service the national debt.
Yep.
This Prime Minister is a big spender. He is spending $54.1 billion on debt services charges instead of on health. What's worse, the Bloc Québécois voted in favor of this Prime Minister's spending. They support $500 billion in spending. Once again, when will this Prime Minister stop making Quebecers poorer? The Honourable Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Finance. Mr. Speaker, here's the reality.
Oh. I heard a bling. Let's go see what the bling was. Hey, Lord Famine. Thank you for the 100 biddies.
What we just heard is untrue. Mr. Speaker, here's the reality. What we just heard is untrue.
What the fuck? All those numbers he just used, they're not true, Mr. Speaker. He's got papers and shit in front of him. No, they all have lies on them, Mr. Speaker. He's lying.
Here's the truth. Canada has a AAA credit rating. Canada has the lowest debt and the lowest deficit of all G7 countries. The Conservatives are against our plan because the only thing they're in favor of is
you show your budget but not how to pay for it, right?
Austerity.
Thank you, Ghost.
And they also support their very wealthy friends.
Leader of the opposition.
After 9 years, this prime minister is not worth the drugs, disorder, death, and destruction.
Oh, speaking of drugs, BC is suddenly reversing its decriminalization of all hard drugs policy magically just before their provincial election because things are going to shit in BC really fucking quickly. Because apparently, when you let everybody do hard drugs everywhere, it's a really bad situation.
In May of 2022, he granted the BC NDP government's request for a criminal code exemption to allow crack, meth, heroin, and fentanyl use in parks, coffee shops, hospitals, beaches. Overdose deaths since exploded to a record-smashing 2,500 lost lives. The BC NDP government has reversed course and asked the federal government to recriminalize some hard drugs. Why won't this prime minister recriminalize these deadly drugs?
Not all, just some. Call him a liar, that's pretty unparliamentary. Oh, but see, because she didn't actually say the word liar, she got away with it.
The Honourable Minister for Mental Health and Addictions.
Mr. Speaker, on this side of the House, we answered the call of the BC government when they requested the exemption on decriminalization of personal possession of certain illicit drugs.
Now answer the call for the, repeal of that exemption.
Mr. Speaker, what is driving this overdose crisis is the illegal drug supply. Every life lost is a tragedy. I met with Minister Whiteside this past Friday. We are reviewing their exemption request. Mr. Speaker, we have a clear lens on public health and public safety because we have a plan.
You can't even say public safety. You said public safety.
This past Friday, we are reviewing their exemption request. Mr. Speaker, we have a clear lens on public health and public safety because we have a plan.
See? She can't even say public safety. She said public safety. She doesn't...
They do not.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
She's wasting time while people are dying. In the year after this radical Prime Minister granted the decriminalization of crack, heroin, and other hard drugs in parks and hospitals, 2,500 people died. The overdose death in the 9 years of this Prime Minister have tripled to the fastest rising of the 11 countries studied by the Commonwealth.
No, they can't make coke illegal again. How would the government function without their special powdered fuel? Will someone think of the children? Right? They literally just want them to stop shooting up in front of kids. I thought the liberals loved kids. Oh, right? But see, they only love kids if they're giving them unnecessary shit.
Wealth Fund. Nurses are afraid to go to work because they have to put up with addicts using meth, crack, and weapons in their hospital room. Even nurses are having to give up on breastfeeding because they're worried their kids will be contaminated with the drugs they breathe in. What the hell are they thinking over there?
That's crazy. Like, nurses can't push for breastfeeding because they don't know if the mothers are, like, addicted to drugs. That's crazy. That, like, can you imagine having that much drug use that you can't advocate for breastfeeding?
The honourable member, as a long-time member of this House, I'll just ask him to withdraw the offensive word, because it is not.
Oh, he said hell.
I withdraw because they're not thinking over there.
The honourable government House leader.
Mr. Speaker, last week we saw the leader of the opposition.
Oh, what was that? I hear. Oh, thank you for the donation there, Fury Kitten. Press, my pretty puppet. Thank you very much, very, very much.
The honourable government House leader.
Mr. Speaker, last week we saw the leader of the opposition once again encourage supporters of white supremacy, anarchy,
Where?
and misogyny.
Where?
Mr. Speaker, last week we saw the leader of the opposition once again encourage supporters of white supremacy, anarchy, and misogyny.
Anarchy?
This has been a regular.
White supremacy, anarchy, and misogyny. What the fuck? What the fuck? Where? Oh, because of the fuck Trudeau protesters?
Draws the admiration of people who dismiss the slaughter of children in our schools. The leader of the opposition. Thank you for the
Oh shit. Wow. They actually had to cut the audio feed. Yes, thank you very much. Like, Lord Famine, Fury, you guys are fucking awesome. Thank you for the biddies. Thank you for the tips. I hope you enjoyed the eyeballs falling into the glass.
I'm going to invite the government House leader to start from the top and to choose his words very carefully, so that.
Fuck you, fuck you, government House leader.
Do not cause disorder in the House.
Mr.
It's
Speaker,
not his job. Oh, are you upset, Christia? Are you upset because one of your colleagues got called out by the speaker because you expect the speaker to only call out the conservatives?
Mr. Speaker, last week we saw the leader of the opposition once again visit with supporters of white supremacy, anarchy, and misogyny.
Wow!
This has been a regular
He's
occurrence.
not even trying.
It draws the admiration of people who dismiss the slaughter of children in schools. The leader of the opposition now has 30 seconds to speak to this House and to Canadians once I sit down. I ask him to clearly...
What children have been slaughtered in our schools? I don't know. Did I miss a Canadian school massacre? No! There have literally been no... The last, like, school shooting I remember was in, like, Alberta in, like, 2004? Hold on a second. This is gonna put me on the This is gonna put me on a list. This is gonna... It's gonna put me on some sort of loose. University of Alberta shooting. Yeah. That's the one I'm thinking. Yeah, the last article that the date of the article that I'm seeing here is 2016. The Brampton Centennial University of... Yeah, there's like literally no recent school shootings.
Disavow the views of these dangerous people. Will he do that?
That is an...
There are some very interesting auto-gen subtitles that are picked up in the background. Oh. Not even a good lie, damn, that is sad. No, these guys can't even make up a good fucking lie. They gotta bring out the big guns after Trudeau's dress-up festival this weekend. It depends on what they call a mass shooting, 2 or more hurt. Let's see, but seriously, like, these guys cannot even come up with a good, like, I've done this before, like, when the Liberals say something, I've Googled it, and in like 10 seconds, I've debunked it.
Order. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
I unequivocally disavow the guy who spent the first half of his adult life as a practicing racist dressing up in...
Ho ho ho! Shit!
He's accepted the support of Hamas, and now he's brought on the extremist and radical position of allowing legal drug use in playgrounds, in hospitals, in coffee shops that has led to the mass death of our people. Will he not refuse the demand of Toronto to replicate the decriminalization nightmare in BC?
Wait, Toronto wants to replicate this? Fuck, man. I looked it up. The latest article for school shootings was a Jewish school getting shot in November of last year. Yeah, so not even this year.
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I'm sad to say the leader of the Conservatives, the opposition, has shown us his true colors.
I'm sorry. Which of the two people, Poilievre and Trudeau, got thanked by fucking Hamas? Which one of those two people? I rest my case.
He speaks without conviction and clarity on a question that should be very, very, very simple for him to address. His silence speaks volumes. This is not leadership, Mr. Speaker. This is political cowardice.
Very good. Oh, shut up, Christian. You have no idea what you're talking about.
Order. The Honourable
The Honourable Member for La Prairie. When the Prime Minister unveiled his budget, or rather, his plan to invade Quebec's areas of jurisdiction, he justified it by saying, citizens don't care which level of government is responsible for what. Well, a Léger poll found that 82% of Quebecers think that the federal government should respect the division of powers. This is more proof that the Prime Minister is completely out of touch.
They also have the definition of a school shooting or death as being in a 250-meter radius of a school's perimeter. Oh my God. I didn't realize that.
Touch with reality. Quebecers are clear that what they want is for the federal government to work with other governments. Instead of playing politics, why doesn't the Prime Minister give Quebecers the money that they deserve? That is what Quebecers want. The Honourable Minister of Transportation. Mr. Speaker, in the budget, we are investing in housing. The Conservatives and the Bloc are complaining. They're going to vote against it. In our budget, we are investing in dental care. The Conservatives and the Bloc complain and will vote against it. Mr. Speaker, the bottom line is that these two parties will find different excuses to vote against this one budget. And if we were to listen to them, to either of them, then at the end of the day, Quebec would end up with nothing. The Honourable Member for La Prairie. Quebecers are not the only ones who are against interference. All the provincial and territorial premiers have added their signatures to those of the Premier of Quebec in a letter calling on Ottawa to respect our areas of jurisdiction, such as...
Yeah, all of the premiers are like, dude, no, stop. This is not your jurisdiction.
Health, education, and housing. They are all calling for the right to opt out with full financial compensation from any federal intrusion outside its areas of jurisdiction. Everyone is opposed to federal interference from coast to coast to coast. When you think, as the Prime Minister does...
Says the guy standing in the Prime Minister's spot while the Prime Minister is absent. 250 meters. Jane and Finch is like 250 meters from 3 schools. That's true.
That everyone else is wrong. Maybe it's because you're the one who was looking for a fight. What does the Prime Minister have to say about that? The Honourable Minister of Transportation. Well, Mr. Speaker, seeking to pick a fight? Well, the Bloc Québécois are the true experts. In fact, they have a PhD in picking fights, Mr. Speaker.
Oh, shit!
Mr. Speaker, the Bloc is voting against our budget. They say it's important to help seniors, but they're voting against the budget.
When
the Bloc says
is the vote?
That we need to help Canadians, but they vote against the budget. They're complaining. They keep complaining, but they don't actually do anything. It's all talk, no action from the Bloc Québécois.
The Honourable Member from Burnaby South.
This is the last part of today. This is the last part of Monday's question period that we're going to cover, by the way.
This government stood by while food prices and rent skyrocketed. This hurts people living with disabilities disproportionately. After making folks wait more than 3 years, they announced a disability benefit that's too little, doesn't cover enough people, and is going to be clawed back by provinces. People struggling to put food on their table have been given crumbs by this government. When will the Prime Minister get serious about helping people living with disabilities?
He won't. Because they think, okay, you guys want to know what they think is helpful for Canadians with disabilities? $2,400 a year. Okay? That's it. $200 a month. That's what they think is an appropriate disability benefit.
The Honourable Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Finance.
Mr. Speaker, we are glad to be the first government, the first federal government in Canadian history to put forward the financing for support for people with disabilities.
I'm sorry. I would rather get $0 than $200 a month. That is most likely going to get clawed back.
Across our country. it is a very big deal. Mr. Speaker, this is just the first step. We recognize there is more to do, including working carefully with provinces and territories, and we're going to do it.
When?
The Honourable Member for Burnaby South.
This Liberal government is failing people living with disabilities.
Advocates for those living with disabilities are clear. The announcement of the disability benefit is just not enough. It's not working. $200, that's not enough.
No.
The Prime Minister has thousands, billions even, to give to big oil, but pennies for Canadians living with disabilities. Will he sit down with disability advocate groups and fix this problem? The Honourable Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Finance. Mr. Speaker, our government is proud.
Our government is proud to give $200 a month to people with disabilities because we think that's all they're worth.
Proud to be the first federal government to come forward with a disability benefit for those living with disabilities. This is a major step forward, and we are proud of our accomplishment.
He is one spectacular looking dude. Basic is based. No, he's commie adjacent, like Pinkalo said.
We need to work closely with provinces and territories. This is just the beginning. We need to do more, and we will do more. Thank you.
I want you to text the person that we know. Oh, you know who I'm talking about, and ask if this was her stupid idea. Oh! Fuck. Oh my god. It's $200 a month. What the fuck?
From South Surrey, White Rock.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah. $200 a month. That is so fucking insulting. That is so fucking insulting. I just can't. And the thing is that they would make us apply for that. Because you have to apply for federal funding if it's there. Like when Pinkalo was working full time and he had to go on unemployment insurance, he was forced to go on unemployment insurance by disability, and then disability was like, oh, now you're off because you are receiving federal money. How much was given to Ukraine? Right? Fucking billions of dollars. And then it's the disabled citizens of Canada get $200 a month. And only if you get the disability tax credit. That's it. Like, only if you get the disability tax credit would you be eligible for that $200 a month. Oh my god. Just fucking ridiculous. Okay. So, this is yesterday's question period. And apparently, according to a headline I saw, the Speaker of the House kicked Polyev out. So, we might actually get to see why. Let's take a look.
Questions orales, oral questions. Questions orales, oral questions.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition. After 9 years, this Prime Minister is not worth the crime or the drugs. This government's radical, extreme drug policies, which are supported by the Bloc Québécois, have tripled overdose deaths. In the Journal de Montréal today, we can read there are used needles on the floor, there are terrible scenes to be witnessed, there are supervised consumption sites, some of which are a couple steps away from schools in Montreal. When will the Prime Minister reverse his radical policies which are causing...
And in Toronto, too.
deaths. The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Holy
Mr.
shit, he's
Speaker,
there!
The opioid crisis is terrible. It's occurring across the country.
He's actually there. Holy fuck.
What we need to fix this is not more conservative ideology. We need solutions based on compassion, healthcare, and science. We need evidence-based solutions.
Yes, and the science says when you have drug addicts, let them have all the drugs they want. That'll make things better. Oh, wait.
Now we will continue to work together with provinces and with communities to address this public health crisis. We will do so in a thorough and compassionate manner. That is what Canadians expect. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
The Minister is not worth the drugs and death. His extreme and radical drug policy has increased.
I had to specifically tell the accountant, do not opt in for that.
Overdose deaths in British Columbia by 380%. In the year following his decriminalization of crack, heroin, and other hard drugs in hospitals, transit buses, coffee shops, and parks where children play, there has been a record-smashing 2,500 deaths.
In 1 year.
Will the Prime Minister accept the BC NDP's demand to recriminalize those drugs?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Speaker, I just answered that question. What hasn't been answered by the Leader of the Opposition is why he chooses to continue to court extreme right nationalist groups like Diagolon. He refuses...
Oh my God, did you hear Christia? That is a very good point. Oh, well done, Justin.
To court extreme right nationalist groups like Diagolon. He refuses to denounce these extremists who don't believe Canadians should coexist with each other. Instead, they call for war and tell people to follow their instincts accordingly. The leader of the Conservative Party is actively courting the support of groups with white nationalist views.
I almost forgot what just he
and he needs to stand up and apologize now.
Colleagues, so soon in question period, it is important that we try to control ourselves. I'll ask the honourable member from St. Albert, Edmonton, please, to allow members to ask the questions and members to respond. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, I always condemn extremism and racism, including from the guy who spent the first half of his adult life as a practicing racist, dressing up in hideous racist costumes so many times he can't.
Not wrong. Not wrong.
The honourable member, Leader of the Opposition, knows that to make an accusation directly at
oh, come on!
a single person is not appropriate. And I'm going to ask all members to control themselves.
Seriously? He didn't call him racist.
I'll ask the Honourable Leader of the Opposition to rephrase this question and to start from the top.
Mr. Speaker, I will also condemn the extremism of a Prime Minister who gives hundreds of thousands of dollars of anti-racism money to a Jew hater who has proposed shooting Jews in the head. I condemn a Prime Minister who allows the IRGC, which murdered 55 Canadians, to remain legal. And I condemn a Prime Minister who allows open use of crack, heroin, meth, and weapons in hospital rooms that threaten nurses and on school buses next to children. Will the Prime Minister reverse his extremist policies and
what was
Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the leader opposite is showing us exactly what shameful, spineless leadership looks like.
Shameful, spineless leadership. What? Oh, I'm sorry. Do you not like having your flaws pointed out? That must really suck for you. You poor, poor guy. That must be very uncomfortable to have your shit aired out in front of you like that. So being a logistics operator and honking your horn won't let you coexist with other Canadians, but a public health crisis is fine. Calling Justin a racist is bad, but calling those who don't agree with him a racist is good. Yes! And also far-right ultra-extremist. Yes! Yes. Holy shit! Someone just yelled at the speaker. Wow!
Order! I'm going to ask the honourable member from Lethbridge if she has problems with the chair, that she should challenge the chair in a way. But as she knows, as the honourable member from Lethbridge knows, that by challenging the chair is against the rules of this House. I'll ask the honourable member to please ask her to withdraw her remarks.
The chair is acting in a disgraceful manner.
I'm going to ask you, will you...
Wow. Pot, kettle, blackface. Nice. Oh man, we've got audio cut out.
Ms. Harder, I have to name you for disregarding the authority of the chair. Pursuant to authority granted to me by Standing Order 11, I order you to withdraw from the House and from any participation by video conference for the remainder of this day's sitting.
Wow. He kicked somebody out? That's one. That's one conservative he kicked out.
Now back to the issue at hand. Mrs. Thomas, my apologies.
Wow, he named the wrong person. He named the wrong MP and kicked the wrong MP out.
Now back to the original point. I'm going to ask the Prime Minister to please, as I'd ask the Leader of the Opposition, you can start from again and to make sure that he does, to start his question, and to reframe it in a way that does not call into the character of an individual member of Parliament. The Honourable Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the Leader opposite is showing us once again what he will do to try and earn votes through personal attacks. He takes the hands of a leader of a white nationalist group, then goes to actively court the support of the group's members and thinks he can get away with it. This is a group that advocates for violence against US LGBTQI plus Canadians, against Hindus and Sikhs, against...
Yeah, I'm sorry. Hamas thanked you for helping them. Okay? What? How much more alphabet soup could you get than Hamas?
Muslims and Jews. Diagolon stands against everything we stand for as Canadians, and yet he will not denounce them or what they stand for. That is shameful, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, that, like everything else he says, is false. He uses fear and falsehood and this latest distraction because he doesn't want to face the fact that he has become so extreme and radical that even the BC NDP is distancing themselves from his decriminalization of crack, heroin, meth, and other hard drugs in hospital rooms, causing nurses to have to stop breastfeeding their babies for fear that their contaminated air might end up in the breast milk of the baby. Why won't he ban these drugs?
The Right Honourable...
Oh, the nurses are concerned that their exposure to hard drugs is, like, gonna be in the breast milk. Okay, that's a little bit silly.
Minister. We won't condemn these groups. Any leader that needs the support of a far-right white nationalist group to fundraise and get closer to power does not deserve elected office.
You have literal nurses who, oh my God, nobody gives a fuck.
This is a 19-year career politician who knows exactly what he's doing and thinks he can get away with it. It was a choice to pander to white nationalists, not an accident. And
it's a choice to ignore the struggle of your citizens, not an accident.
A choice to continue to not condemn them and condemn everything they stand for in his quest for votes.
I'm going to ask the Honourable Member for the second time from St. Albert, Edmonton, to please withhold his comments until he has the floor. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, it is a choice for him to implement extremist policies that have taken the lives of 2,500 British Columbians every single year. Since the NDP has asked him to reverse course on his and formerly their radical policy, 22 British Columbians have died of drug overdoses.
Wow.
But he continues to allow those drugs to kill the people in our hospitals and on our public transit. When will we put an end to this wacko policy by this wacko Prime Minister?
No. That is not there are a couple of things which are going on here today which is not acceptable. And I ask all members, please, to keep themselves, to control themselves. I'm going to ask two things. One, I'm going to ask the Honourable Leader of the Opposition to withdraw that term, which is not considered parliamentary.
Wacko? Fuck off, Ferguson. You're gonna make him withdraw the word wacko? Oh my God. Oh my God. Fentanyl dust would be a major threat, not to mention the secondary fluid transfer. See, that's why I stopped talking, because I'm not sure how the harder drugs pass through the breast milk barrier.
Mr. Speaker, I replace wacko with extremist. He is an
The Honourable Member to please... I'm going to ask the Leader of the Opposition once again to just withdraw that comment, please. And I'll invite the Honourable Member... I'm going to ask...
Yeah, he can... So it's okay for Polyev to get called white supremacist, but he's not allowed to say extremist or wacko. That's okay? That's okay. Oh, all right then.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition to please withdraw that comment and simply withdraw that comment.
Can he actually make a statement without the inclusion of the terms white nationalist, extremist, or far right, especially with a Punjabi Sikh sat next to his target?
I'll replace it with radical Baptist policy.
I am not asking to replace. I'm asking the Honourable Member to just simply withdraw.
No.
Mr. Speaker, I replace the word wacko with extremist.
He's not withdrawing it. So he's gonna get kicked out for contempt? Really? So the Speaker of the House is gonna kick Polyev out for contempt. That is insane. Yeah, they cut all audio feed. Because, you know, that's not completely anti-transparency or anything like that.
I'm going to ask the Honourable Leader of the Opposition one last time to please withdraw that comment and simply withdraw that comment.
No.
I simply withdraw and replace with the aforementioned adjective.
Well done, Polyev.
Mr. Polyev, I have to name you for disregarding the authority of the chair. Pursuant to the authority granted to me by Standing Order 11, I order you to withdraw from the House and from any participation by video conference for the remainder of this day's sitting.
Wow. Wow. Fucking wow.
Jordan Mahoney, the blind world. I don't know what your stand is, my friend, on the drug fentanyl, but it should be outlawed because it's going to be smuggled into Ireland. True drug people, and I don't.
Fentanyl is like. Fentanyl is unfortunately a necessary evil because it is very medically helpful in a medical setting. But unfortunately, with any sort of medical thing, it's going to be misused. That's unfortunately how that's just going to be. Wow, what a pathetic state. What a pathetic state of affairs. I just can't even with this. Nobody's gonna take him seriously for the rest of the time. Because he's let Trudeau call Polyev white supremacist and far right and all this shit over and over again. But Polyev apparently can't say wacko or extremist. That's just a no-no.
The second matter which I was going to bring up was the fact that I was hearing some catcalling from the far end of the House. I wasn't able to identify the person, but I'll ask all members to carry themselves in a way that is dignified for this House. The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker,
The leader of the opposition wants to talk about extremism. Well, a week ago, he visited a Diagolon encampment. Diagolon hates that minorities in this country get the same protections as everyone else.
What the fuck is a Diagolon? I've never even heard of Diagolon until a week ago.
They are charter-protected rights. Just yesterday, a week after the Conservative leader sat down with...
This clip has been making its rounds everywhere and Canadians are not happy with Ferguson. They shouldn't be. They shouldn't be happy. Because Trudeau literally gets to call him a white supremacist and he can't even say wacko.
I'll ask the honourable member from Leeds, Grenville, Thousand Islands and Rideau Lakes to please withdraw, to please only take the microphone when he is afforded the opportunity to ask a question. I'll ask the Right Honourable Prime Minister to continue.
See, he has lost control of the House.
I'm going to ask the Right Honourable Prime Minister to finish his question. He has 15 seconds left on the clock.
Mr. Speaker, the association of the Leader of the Opposition with Diagolon and their disdain for charter-protected rights brought them to just yesterday, a week after he sat down with Diagolon members, he gave a speech pledging to overturn the Charter of Rights and Freedoms, the rights of Canadians and our justice system. That's dangerous.
What?
The Honourable Member for Belleuil-Chambly.
Okay, here's the leader of the bloc.
Mr. Speaker, I would like to congratulate you on your common sense today.
Oh! Oh, what a dick sucker. Holy shit. Holy shit.
If you would like more questions, well, we have many that we could ask. Mr. Speaker, the weapons buyback...
Good on him. Still contempt, though. He should have withdrawn. Yep. He did that on purpose, Fury. I could never be a politician. I'd have told this puppet to get bent. Oh my god, I've had people in my own life tell me I should be a politician, and I'm like, are you serious? Do you know me? Like, I would be kicked out of the house so fast. Mr. Speaker, kindly go fuck yourself.
Buyback program, Phoenix Pay System, emitting visas, GC Strategies, McKinsey. The government's management is really chaotic. The government should not be interfering with Quebec's jurisdiction. They should simply limit themselves to issuing unconditional transfers. The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, as Prime Minister, it is my responsibility to take care of all Canadians everywhere in Canada. Minister, it is my responsibility. The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr.
Did
Speaker,
they switch speakers? Did they put the chick in charge? I think they put the chick in charge.
As Prime Minister, it is my responsibility to take care of all Canadians everywhere in Canada. I am the member for Papineau and I'm a proud Quebecer. So I will, of course, take care of Quebecers too. This is why we are working hand in hand with provinces from coast to coast to deliver services, care, and support that Canadians need in these difficult times.
That are completely out of your jurisdiction.
We will continue to be here to invest in communities, to invest in Canadians, and to invest in their futures. We will do so by working with provinces and municipalities. The Honourable Member for Belleuil-Chambly. Hand in hand with provinces, eh? Now, the Conservatives have been making statements that put them on par with Pinocchio, but now they're voting with the Liberals. The Conservatives now also want to interfere with provincial jurisdiction.
What the hell has the Bloc guy been smoking? I am very confused.
All premiers unanimously made a request. But against all of those premiers, the Liberals and the Conservatives have voted down a motion calling for respect of provincial jurisdiction. So if the Liberals and Conservatives really care about Quebec, then I welcome them to read our policies. The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, the Bloc's policies seek to pick fights between Quebec and Ottawa. On this side of the House, we're investing in Quebecers' futures. We're investing in families, seniors. We're investing in dental care.
All you're doing
in fact,
is spending.
As of tomorrow, Mr. Speaker, seniors in Quebec and elsewhere in Canada will have advantages. We're investing to increase daycare spots. We're investing in green technology and a more prosperous future for all.
No, I've not heard of that MP.
We're here to work together, not to fight, and we will continue on that track. The Honourable Member for Rosemont, La Petite Patrie. Mr. Speaker, what a day today. I'm glad that those remaining are adults.
Wow. Listen to the gloating. Holy shit.
The adults are still here in the room. 25% of Quebecers are unable to live with dignity.
That's parliamentary. Gloating about somebody getting kicked out and basically calling them children is parliamentary. And calling them white supremacists, that's okay.
That's a staggering number. That's 2 million people.
Wow.
25% of Quebecers are living on less than the minimum income required to live a reasonably decent life. They're too squeezed to afford the goods and services they need. Meanwhile, the Liberals are giving gifts to big oil. Everything costs more. Housing has become insanely expensive. Housing is the single biggest expense for families. So when are the Liberals going to build housing that Quebecers can afford? The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
They're not.
Mr. Speaker, that's exactly why in our recent budget, we have prioritized creating equal opportunities for all generations. A huge chunk of the investments in Budget 2024 are investments in housing, affordable housing. We wish to ensure that young people, millennials and Generation Z, will have a future in which they can buy a home, in which they can pay rent.
How about you let millennials have a turn governing?
And
go the fuck
pay
away.
Rent such that their credit rating will increase so that they can eventually start paying a mortgage. We're investing more than anyone before us.
Speaker, Canadians deserve to retire with dignity, and they can with the world-renowned Canada Pension Plan. But Daniel Smith is trying to pull Alberta out of the CPP, and the Conservative leader has spent his entire career attacking workers' pensions while he benefits from a public pension himself. New Democrats are fighting back. Today I tabled a bill that will protect the CPP from Conservatives and give Canadians and Albertans a say in the future of their CPP.
What's it called? The
Will the Liberals support my bill, or will they stand with the cut-and-gut Conservatives?
Here, here. The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, we're pleased to see the NDP joining us in the fight to protect the Canada Pension Plan. Actually, one of the very first things we did in government about 6 months in was strengthen the Canada Pension Plan for future generations. We will continue to stand against Conservatives who for decades have been railing against the Canada Pension Plan. And indeed, the plan by Alberta to dismantle the Canada Pension Plan, to put at risk the pensions of millions of Albertan seniors, is absolutely irresponsible, and we will continue to stand in defense of the Canada Pension Plan and look forward to standing with all members in this House in doing just that.
Here, here.
Oh. No more audio again? What are we doing? The Pinocchio comment was a direct assertion that they were lying or deceiving the House. That's a direct infraction. Yep. I'm tired and I heard CCCP. Ha! The hell is going on?
C'est une journée exceptionnelle.
Well, today is a very unique day. The Honourable Member for Belleuil-Chambly. The Prime Minister has left. He's no longer with us here on this Tuesday.
The
now,
fuck?
the Prime Minister said that he's working hand in hand with provinces. He insisted that he...
He just got up and left? What the fuck?
C'est une journée exceptionnelle.
Well, today is a very unique day. The Honourable Member for Belleuil-Chambly. The Prime Minister has left. He's no longer with us here on this Tuesday. Now, the Prime Minister said that he's working hand in hand with provinces. He insisted that he wants to ensure that...
Your Parliament has now reached the state of an unruly House, and a direct vote of confidence in the Speaker and Cabinet should be called in front of the Governor-General. World famous what again? Right?
That everyone receives good services from the Government of Canada, and that he wants that for all Canadians. Well, there are some services which are under provincial jurisdiction.
Meanwhile, he can't even stay for a whole fucking question period.
So, am I right in understanding that the Prime Minister feels that when provinces deliver services, they are lower quality than when Ottawa delivers them? The Honourable Minister of Transport. Mr. Speaker, I'm worried for my Bloc Québécois friends. I hardly recognize them anymore. They have always said that housing is important. They always say that housing is important. The Conservatives vote against it, and then the Bloc votes against it. The Conservatives say to vote against climate change. The Bloc sometimes votes against too, but I'm worried.
How do you
this
vote
Sovereignist
against
party,
climate change?
They are following advice from
Why do
the
they always
Conservatives,
say that?
and so they're in fact losing their own sovereignty. The Honourable Member for Belleuil-Chambly. Well, I understand that there's been less preparation, but yesterday, the Conservatives, the Liberals, and even the NDP, I say even because it's one and the same, they all voted down a Bloc Québécois amendment. The amendment accepted the budget. We're team players, but all we were calling for was respect for provincial jurisdiction. But all these federalists got together and voted against the Bloc Québécois.
Yeah, because you're not the only province. Where's the opposing bench? I don't know.
How does the minister feel about that? The Honourable Minister of Transport. Mr. Speaker, the Bloc has failed Quebecers. They promised Quebecers that they would support housing, but they voted against housing. They said to Quebecers that they would support fighting climate change. They vote against it. We try to help young people.
Again, how do you vote against
what we're doing? So does the Bloc Québécois realize that they are in fact becoming the separatist wing of the Conservative Party? The Honourable Member for Lac-Saint-Jean. Mr. Speaker, good afternoon. Quebec has just announced $603 million to stop the decline of the French language. Most of the money will go towards French language training for temporary foreign workers. This is good news for the vitality of the French language, but this alone will not be enough. Why not? Because the majority of foreign workers are entirely under the jurisdiction of the federal government through the International Mobility Program. And the federal government has no language requirements. So, given that the Liberals have acknowledged the decline of the French language, they too must do their part. Will the government heed Quebec's request and add French language requirements for foreign workers under its jurisdiction?
Nope.
The Honourable Minister of Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Such glory and respect for parliamentary procedure. We would love for the Governor General to step in, but Trudeau owns that idiot too. Yep.
We, of course, support French language training. We invested $5.4 billion in Quebec since 2015 for French language training, and things are working well. The Bloc is often viewed as a party that picks fights, but I would like to highlight the contribution of the member across the way. He has supported the fact that family members of temporary residents can stay longer. The government of Quebec called for that, and we worked together with the Bloc Québécois to ensure that this would be possible.
I am going to do a quick bathroom break, and then since Fury Kitten sent in that tip, I'm going to do the overhead presses. So let me mute. Let me mute. I'll be right back. Okay. We'll put it on solo cam for a moment. And we'll do our presses. Because remember, $10 equals 10 presses. 1, 2, 3. Actually, it came out to $12, Streamlabs said, so I think it was like a $15 thing, so I'll do 15. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, whoo, 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15. All right. Oh my goodness. Okay. Let's get back over to the question period screen. and put it back to the live scene. And push play.
Vancouver East.
Priority processing for the lifeboat scheme for Hong Kongers has gone from 6 months to 21. Processing delays for the PR application means their work permit and study permit are going to expire. The medical coverage will end. Dependent children will no longer be able to access education. Hong Kongers will be sent back to face an escalation of arbitrary detentions and arrests because of the draconian Safeguarding National Security Bill. Will the minister resume the 6-month priority process?
Draconian Safeguarding National Security. Yes, yes. How dare the National Security Bill be strict? Oh my God.
Average for Hong Kongers and automatically renew their work and study permit as they wait.
The Honourable Minister for Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship.
Mr. Speaker, we continue to stand with the people of Hong Kong. We will work on processing times. We continue to work with people who seek refuge in Canada, and will continue to do so. Thank you.
The Honourable Member from Timmins, James Bay.
For decades, people in James Bay have struggled to overcome systemically racist underfunding of health services. Every region deserves proper hospital services, and we're finally on the verge of having a proper hospital built in the Winnebago Health region. But now at the 11th hour, the Liberals have walked away. I mean, heck, even Doug Ford is bringing the province to the table. So will the minister explain why she made the health authority jump through so many hoops only to tell them that the Liberals had no intention of funding this badly needed project?
Damn. Fuck. That's bad. That is.
Mr. Speaker, first of all, let me.
Just 1 minute. I'd like to just apologize to the member from Timmins, James Bay. I might have reduced the time of his question. We got the timing wrong here on the clock. I just want to make sure if the honourable member can please start again and start his question from the top, just to make sure that he has his full question. The honourable member from Timmins, James Bay.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. For decades, people in James Bay have struggled to overcome systemically racist underfunding of health services. Every region deserves a proper hospital.
Now, when everyone goes, what does he mean by systemically racist? There are a lot of natives in James Bay. There's a lot of Indigenous people up there. Thank you, Fury.
We're finally on the verge of having a proper hospital built in the Winnebago Health region. But now at the 11th hour, the Liberals have walked away. I mean, heck, even Doug Ford is bringing the province to the table. So will the minister explain why she made the health authority jump through so many hoops only to tell them that the Liberals have no intention of funding this badly needed project?
Because Liberals hate Indigenous people. That's why.
The Honourable Minister for Crown Indigenous Relations.
Dude, your microphone isn't working.
Him that I spoke with Grand Chief Fiddler just last week about this very project. We're working with the province and with the region to make sure that everyone can access quality health care no matter where they live.
What kind of answer is that? You're not building the hospital they need, and you're like, we're gonna make sure you guys get the health care you need. Well, okay.
From Kingston and the Islands.
Mr. Speaker, disinformation, extremism, and violent hate are on the rise around the world, including here at home. Standing up to far-right extremism is something that I know this government takes very seriously. But it is shameful that the leader of the opposition entertained and posed for photos with organizations our national security agencies call a far-right extreme group rooted in white nationalism that promote hate and violence.
I'm sorry. The Prime Minister got thanked by Hamas. The IRGC is still legal in Canada. Shut up.
Can the government please tell this House how important it is that these far-right extreme groups be condemned and addressed for the real threat that they are?
Hear, hear. The Honourable Minister for Diversity.
Mr. Speaker, while we're investing $273 million towards Canada's first ever action plan on combating hate in this budget,
holy shit, $273 million to fight hate? Jesus
Official opposition is encouraging hate as he calls these up to far-right white extremist supporters.
The Speaker has made rulings about this in terms of lending intentions to honourable members in this House. So I'll ask the Honourable Minister, to, with about 24 seconds left on the clock, to please correct her statement in a way that is respectful of all members.
Mr. Speaker, as a government, we have been very deliberate about choices to be inclusive, while the Leader of the Opposition is making it a very deliberate choice in courting to far-right extremists. This is, Mr. Speaker, extremely reckless, it's dangerous, and he owes Canadians an apology, and he needs to denounce the closing up that he's doing with these groups.
Wow.
The Honourable Member for Lac-Saint-Jean.
I'm just...
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The amount of
Quebec will
bullshit
not
he
reach
lets
its
the
goals
Liberals get
in
away
French language
with.
training if there are more and more people arriving. We can't take in 54% of all asylum seekers of Canada. It's a matter of social justice for the people who arrive. More people to house and to educate and sometimes to feed. But it's also about integration in Quebec society, because we have a duty to provide these people with all the tools they need to succeed. Will the minister finally announce a fair breakdown of asylum seekers between Quebec and the provinces? The Honourable Minister of Immigration.
I love they're like Quebec and the provinces. Like Quebec is something else besides a province.
Refugees and citizenship. Mr. Speaker, sometimes I wonder if the Bloc is clear on what is happening. Quebec is doing more than its fair share, but 54% is an exaggerated number. If we look at all the humanitarian aspects, it's really 25%. Yes, Quebec is doing more. There needs to be collaboration with the Government of Canada, but we need to work together. The Honourable Member for Lac-Saint-Jean. We are ready to welcome people. We won't be able to fight the decline in the French language if the federal government is working in the opposite direction.
Oh my God.
We have 2/3 of temporary residents coming in. The federal government is not taking on its responsibility in French language training. Ottawa is responsible for the skyrocketing needs of French language training in Quebec, and it's doing nothing. The Liberals repeat over and over that more needs to be done to protect French. So why do they refuse to do more to protect French? The Honourable Minister of Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship.
Hi, Ghost Dog.
It's very clear, Mr. Speaker, we will be there for Quebec to do more to support French in Quebec. $54 billion is not nothing. It's what we're contributing, what we've contributed since 2015. But I could ask a question to the member opposite. Does he think we should bring in more asylum seekers from Haiti? Would he accept more in Quebec? The Honourable Member for Madawaska-Restigouche. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's in this more civilized parliamentary context that I announced that Budget 2024 presents a generational plan to build more housing for Canadians. We already know that those in the skilled trades will be the key to the success of building these millions of homes. Since the Canada's Building Unions Trade meeting, it's happening now in the National Capital Region. Can the Minister of Employment, Workforce Development and Official Languages tell us what our government is doing to ensure that Canada has the workforce it needs to get the job done throughout the country? The Honourable Member of Employment and Workforce Development. Mr. Speaker, I would like to thank the Honourable Member for this question. Yesterday, I was at the Canada Buildings Trades Unions conference to discuss with people how we will address the housing crisis in Canada. Budget 2024 sets out money to fund training and apprenticeships.
Remember, if right wing, it's racist, extremist, domestic terrorism. If left wing, it is perfectly legitimate protest. It is a perfectly legitimate protest that is needed to be addressed. Yep.
Ships for workers from coast to coast so they can build homes for the next decades. Mr. Speaker, the skilled trades will drive this effort. We will guarantee they have everything they need to get the job done. The Honourable Member for Saint-Hyacinthe-Bagot. Mr. Speaker, La Presse recently informed us of the existence of the obsolete or surplus goods program of the Border Services Agency. Basically, this program aims to give money to businesses that throw out their excess merchandise. We're talking about non-perishable merchandise. For example, let's say I have a jeans business. I import a new type and I end up with out-of-date, unsold jeans. I have two choices. If I throw them out in the garbage, Ottawa reimburses me for the customs charges, but if I donate them to a charity, I don't get a cent. What an invitation to waste. Who in Ottawa thinks that this is a good idea?
That's actually a good question. Why wouldn't you give them like tax write-offs or something?
I had ever heard the parroting of phrase dues or far-right extremist and so many questions. We used to play a game where we would slip on lyrics into calls to tech support. Is this the same button?
I haven't heard the words. I haven't heard the phrase du jour, far-right extremist, and so many questions. We used to play a game. We used to play a game where you would call. Oh, where we would slip song lyrics into calls to tech support. Is this the same? Damn reading scripts or questions from people. That, yeah.
The Honourable Minister of Public Safety. Mr. Speaker, I thank my colleague. I was not aware of a particular case. If he asks us if we're in favor of that type of waste, I think, his opinion. The answer, of course, is no. I will be pleased to speak to the Border Services Agency to see if it's possible to find another solution. The Honourable Member for Saint-Hyacinthe-Bagot. Well, today, the level of questions has increased. I'm not sure about the answers. The Border Services Agency has reimbursed businesses over $20 million for throwing out their merchandise after making it unusable. At a time when food banks are serving more people than ever because times are tough, Ottawa is funding waste at the expense of social solidarity. It doesn't make sense.
That's a very good point. Why are we not encouraging businesses to donate out-of-date merchandise like clothing and stuff to Salvation Army stores and giving them a tax write-off?
Will the Minister of Public Safety review this very bad program which penalizes generosity and encourages waste? The Honourable Minister of Public Safety. Mr. Speaker, we will absolutely review the facts that my honourable colleague has put forward because I, of course, share his concern in the face of this situation. I will be pleased to follow up with the agency, the Border Services Agency. I look forward to doing so.
The Honourable Member from Scarborough Agincourt.
Mr. Speaker, April is Cancer Awareness Month. Though the month is ending, the need for cancer awareness and education continues.
That
According
sounds
to the
like
Canadian
a statement
Cancer
and
Society, 2 out of 5
declarations
Canadians will be
not a
diagnosed
question.
with cancer in their lifetime. In 2023 alone, an estimated 239,000 Canadians were newly diagnosed with cancer. Can the Minister of Health update this House on what our government is doing to support Canadians impacted by cancer?
The Honourable Minister of Health.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to thank the member for Scarborough Agincourt for her continued advocacy. She knows all too well, as do I and every member of this House, that so few of us get to make it through this life and not be touched by cancer, and that it is an imperative that we do all that we can. And I want to take a moment to recognize the Canadian Cancer Society, breast
we used to deal with the same, or we used to face the same when dealing with food restaurant waste. If we wasted it, we got a fat write-off. If we donated it to the homeless, we got taxed as if it was retail. Jesus.
Breast Cancer Canada and all those that work tirelessly to
That's
advocate.
Ridiculous.
We put $1 billion over the last 5 years to work through breakthroughs in science and to improve how we prevent and treat cancer.
People, right?
We're taking critical action in prevention. Together, we can see an end to cancer, and I thank that for the time to speak, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member from Cowichan, Malahat, Langford.
Mr. Speaker, the community of Port Renfrew in my riding relies on recreational fishing as the major economic driver in the region, bringing in an estimated $26 million per season. But the Liberals plan to end that important economic pathway and are failing to provide credible data to justify the fishing closures. This move will harm the local economy and devastate the local community, including the Pacheedaht First Nation. This is shameful.
Because the
Why are the
Liberals
Liberals
hate
putting Port
Indigenous
Renfrew's
people.
economy at risk with these ill-informed and punitive fishing closures?
Hear, hear.
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to thank the member opposite. It was just a couple of weeks ago. I was in BC talking to a lot of First Nations communities on a whole host of topics that are important to them and important to their communities. I know this one is equally important in terms of recreational fishing from a food and ceremonial perspective, cultural perspective, and an economic perspective. And I will set some time aside to discuss the item with the member opposite very soon. Thank you.
Good job, Mike. Good job, Mike. The honourable member from Churchill, Kiwatanuk, Aski.
Mr. Speaker, today was the final day for most Canadians to file their taxes, and thanks to NDP pressure, the wealthy will be paying somewhat more. Unlike the Conservative leader who, while in government, gave $60 billion to corporations, New Democrats would rather fund key public services like dental and pharmacare. As usual, the Liberals continue to ignore the need for serious tax fairness at a time of rampant corporate greed. We still use a system where wealthy corporations can get out of paying $30 billion in taxes in 1 year. Does this government have an idea how much money the wealthiest Canadians will deprive Canada of this year?
That's a very communist
The Honourable
question.
Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Finance.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to thank the honourable member for the question.
I love how she sounds so, like, pissed off.
Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Finance.
Listen to this.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to thank the honourable member for the question. This budget is about fairness for every generation.
No,
it is about
isn't.
making the essential
What the fuck? How can you say that?
Housing, in affordability, in economic
How can you say
growth.
that with a straight
And
face?
we agree with the idea behind the question that the way to finance those investments is to ask those who are doing the best in our society to contribute a little bit more. That's why in the
Except
budget
if they're
we're proposing to
corporations.
increase the capital gains inclusion rate. We
Or
hope all
people
members
like
will
Galen
support that.
Weston.
Colleagues, this brings to the end of the questions which are...
So, that was question period. What a shit show. What an absolute shit show that was. Holy crap. That was... I don't think I've seen a I don't think I've seen a question period that crazy for quite a while. Who knows what today's question period will bring for us to watch tomorrow. But that was quite interesting. We lost two Conservative members in the beginning, one of them being the fucking leader, because apparently it's okay to call him a white supremacist, but he can't say that the Prime Minister's policies are extremist. So yeah, that was insane. I hope you guys enjoyed the return of the coffee stream. I'll be back tonight with the combat hour. We're almost to champion rank, which means we're almost to that sweet, sweet Ashra gear. And hopefully I'll be able to gather up some people and train up my smoke for later this week. And yeah, we'll have some fun. So thank you for hanging out with me, and I hope you enjoyed the stream. I'm gonna go rest my voice for a bit because my throat hurts. So thank you for watching, and I will see you tonight for the combat hour. So bye everybody, and thank you once again for the donations today. I hope you guys enjoyed yourself. Bye guys.